Clear breathing doesn't suddenly disappear with age. It slowly becomes more effortful, often without you noticing when it started. Most people assume that if breathing feels harder as they get older, it's just decline. That's age. That's normal. That's what happens. And because it happens gradually, it rarely feels alarming enough to question. You can still breathe. You're still functioning. But something feels different. Stairs feel heavier than they used to. Cold or humid air affects you more. You notice chest tightness or shallow breathing more often. Your energy dips sooner in the day. Not dramatically, just enough to be annoying. So you rationalize it. You assume you're less active. Or that your lungs are simply weaker. Or that this is an unavoidable part of getting older. After all, nothing is wrong enough to point to a problem. But here's what's actually happening. The real issue isn't aging lungs. It's aging efficiency. Breathing isn't just about lungs expanding and contracting. It's a coordinated system: airway flexibility, inflammation balance, mucus clearance, circulation, and oxygen exchange all working together. When you're younger, that system has a lot of margin. It adapts easily. Small disruptions barely register. As you get older, that margin shrinks. Airways naturally become slightly less elastic over time. Not stiff, just less responsive. That alone increases resistance. Breathing still works, but it takes more effort to move the same amount of air. Low-grade inflammation also becomes more common with age. Not inflammation you feel as pain, but background irritation that subtly thickens airway tissue. Again, nothing breaks, but airflow becomes less smooth. Mucus behavior changes too. Clearance isn't as efficient as it once was. Mucus doesn't block airways, it just lingers longer. And lingering creates friction. Circulation plays a role that most people never consider. Oxygen delivery depends on blood flow through lung tissue. As circulation efficiency changes with age, oxygen exchange becomes slightly less efficient. The result isn't breathlessness, it's fatigue and heaviness. Histamine response often becomes more sensitive over time as well. Seasonal changes, environmental particles, or dry air can trigger airway tightness that didn't bother you years ago. None of this shows up clearly on standard tests. Because tests are designed to detect failure, not effort. They confirm you're safe, not that breathing is effortless. The real issue isn't that your lungs stop working. It's that they stop compensating invisibly. When you're younger, your system absorbs inefficiencies without you noticing. As that buffer fades, you start feeling what was always happening in the background. That's why breathing can feel normal on paper but heavier in real life. And that understanding changes everything. It removes fear. It removes self-blame. And it reframes aging from decline to adaptation. Clear breathing feels harder not because you're broken, but because your system is asking for more support to maintain the same output. That's also why quick fixes rarely work. You're not dealing with a single cause. You're dealing with layered, gradual changes that affect efficiency across the system. Understanding this doesn't mean accepting discomfort as inevitable. It means recognizing what's actually changing so expectations, decisions, and strategies make sense. If you want a structured breakdown that explains how respiratory efficiency shifts with age without hype or false promises, there's a practical framework linked in the description that walks through this clearly. And if you value calm, grounded explanations about how the body really works as it ages, you can subscribe for more long-form breakdowns like this. Breathing doesn't get harder because you're older. It gets harder because efficiency quietly changes. And once you understand that, the experience stops feeling confusing and starts feeling manageable.